Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're watching this recording of Truth and Revelations podcast. Welcome back. I hope that you've managed to catch up on, I think we are on podcast 8, 9, is it?
Might even
Podcast 9.
be
Is
9.
it 10? Oh,
We'll have to
anyway,
check.
9 or 10. Who's counting? We've got a lot to talk about today. It's just me and Paula today, because we have secured a very amazing guest or two guests for next week. And it's very topical, isn't it, Paula? Everyone is talking about Arla this week. What is Arla? Basically, really, our topics are going to be talking about the farming protest, and which happened last week, and why we're having farming protests all over the world. This is not just in the UK, it's all over the world. Europe, USA. Why are the farmers protesting? And we're going to be talking about what is happening in our food supply in nearly all supermarkets. Um, and this is concerned with Arla, which we'll talk about later. But we want to offer solutions. We don't want to be the grim reaper and talking about misery. We want to offer solutions. So we have been doing a program, a detox program, which is working beautifully, I might add, and it's just making us feel fantastic. We've got over about 80 people in the group now, who are all trying to detox all these toxins in our body. Why have we got more toxins in our body? That's what we'll be talking about as well. So I think that's enough to be going on. We're going to try and keep it to half an hour to 40 minutes today. But I think the first topic we should talk about, Paula, is the farming protest.
Yes.
And why are they protesting, Paula?
Well, there's a few reasons, isn't there? And I
Mm.
did a post on Facebook that went a little bit viral. There's kind of almost, I think there's about 1,500 reactions to this post. And it wasn't my own, it was a post that I shared, possibly from you, Jackie. I can't remember who I shared it from, but I copied and pasted this information about standing by our farmers who were going down to London the other week.
Mm.
And there's such a mixed bag of comments on that post. And what I'm noticing is there's so many different factors. We need to keep our British farms because we need to keep that. That's something major that we have in the UK. And the way things are going, all the different plans and the different we're going to talk about it in a bit more detail in other episodes as well. But all the little things that are happening within that are kind of putting barriers in the way of us receiving British farmed goods. All these little things add up to a major problem, and it means that farmers are being driven out. We're not getting fresh produce from our own country, and that for me is a huge problem. Now, when I saw the comments on this post, there was such a mixed bag, and a lot of people weren't seeing the bigger picture. It's not just about inheritance tax. It's not just about that. It's
Yeah.
not just about um, keeping your shopping local. And it's okay because we've got trade sort of agreements with lots of different countries, so we're all right. We'll be okay for food. That's not the point. The point is we need to keep it more localized because it just needs to happen that way. So the broader picture, Jackie, tell us a bit more about the broader picture because it's much more than
Yeah.
just.
Yeah. There's so much more to that. And just going and ending on that point, where why do we need to eat local food? Which I guess is pretty obvious, is the freshness and the nutrition is all in local food. And if you're an apple, let's say, and you have traveled several thousand miles to get here, you're not going to be that fresh. However, we've got all this local food here. locally.
enough to sustain ourselves. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely. And it's not just about local. Let's be really local. Let's be regional. We've got enough food. We live in Lancashire. Oh, well, actually, you don't. I've just
Close enough.
Paula lives in Greater Manchester. I live in Lancashire, but there are so many farms here, and the exciting thing that's happening is people are starting to recognise what is happening out there. I'm from a farming family, so I'm so passionate about this, and I have had my eyes wide open, knowing what happened to my own father. And I'm just going to briefly tell you this because it's been going on for centuries.
Yeah.
And I was brought up on a very small farm, 15 acres, which might sound a lot to a lot of people, but it isn't for a farm. And it was a bit like the good life, really. We had one cow, and we had lots of vegetables, we had pigs, and all this sort of thing. And my dad really just did what he was told in many ways. So the government even ruled farming then. He was told what fertilizer to put on the land. So, right, this is the fertilizer you have to use, and it's better for the soil, blah, blah, blah. So obviously that's what he did. And I remember distinctly that as a child, when it was mushroom season, which is around about September, October, our fields were just white with mushrooms, fresh mushrooms. And I remember it very well because we used to have them for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. There was that many of
Do you
them.
still eat them?
Mushrooms.
Do you still like
Oh,
them?
I actually love
Okay,
mushrooms.
good.
Because when I was about 11 or 12, that's when he was asked to put this fertilizer on the land. And we never saw those mushrooms again.
Wow,
We never saw
really?
those mushrooms again. And then, after moaning about having mushrooms, I really missed them. So, yeah, and the goodness in fresh mushrooms. I mean, the nutrition in it is amazing. But, if you can imagine then, what is it doing to the soil? What have they told? They told my dad that this would make the soil more nutritious. Well, something happened there, didn't it? So that's just my personal example.
Yeah.
And obviously, I've done a lot more research since then of what they are doing. And so we only need to look in America, and they have massive farms. I mean, huge, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of acres. But it is factory farming.
Yeah.
And, these animals are not kept in a good state. They're kept indoors, kept in the dark. It's awful, awful what they do. But they get more food, and that's why they get cheaper food. But the quality of their food is absolutely dreadful. So if we start noticing when that happened, which was probably 60, maybe 50, 60 years ago, and there we look at disease. We look at the disease. And as we well know, cancer, just let's talk about cancer. It has gone from 1 in 10, but it's now 1 in 2. How is that possible? And we've just got to really think very clearly about that, because everything is what we eat, what we feed inside us, and also in our mind as well. So I think more and more people are waking up to what the government are trying to do to our farms. They are making it so difficult for farmers to make money.
Yeah.
People think that, oh, well, farmers, they've got this big farm, they've got all this land, which is worth millions probably, but actually they don't have any money.
I know this
Most
is
farmers.
something I noticed with the discussions that were happening in my post. Some people were saying, "Oh, well, they're going to be driving around in their Land Rover. They've got land that's worth millions," and that was kind of the point. That land might be worth millions, but it's not cash rich. So they've got
Yeah,
assets there, but they're living hand to mouth because
yeah,
they've not got the
literally.
money in the bank because it's dropped like below a sustainable level. So
Oh, yeah.
then pushes them to think, well, should I sell my acres to try
Yeah.
and just get by? And who then comes and buys though that land? What happens to that land? Does it remain farming land? Most of the time not, unfortunately. And that
No.
is
No.
just, it's a kind of, it's a scary time, really, thinking about
It's
that.
very scary. And, I come from a little village and where I grew up, and I go back there, and honestly, from a little village, it's now a town
Yes,
because the farmland has been sold out
yeah.
because they've made it impossible. They made it impossible. And, farming is a tough life in many ways. I mean, my dad loved it. He loved his animals. He was such a good farmer. And he loved being outside with nobody. Well, I say nobody telling him what to do, but actually, in the end, they get to them in the end. And the sad thing is, farming or farmers are one of the top 10 in suicides, particularly now.
Oh
Mm.
my gosh, I didn't know that statistic. That's
Yeah,
heartbreaking.
because they can't maintain a lifestyle, and things are moving so quick. But anyway, these are the facts. This is what's happening. They're trying to squeeze farming out, and it's very, very obvious now. Bill Gates, it pains me to say his name. He is one of the main instigators in trying to get all the farms. He has literally owned, and this is a billion. Anybody who doesn't know who Bill Gates is, you need to look him up. He owns about a third of the farms in USA. And can you imagine how big USA is? But he's not satisfied with that. He's come over here. He was with Keir Starmer literally maybe 2 months ago. And this is clearly what they were talking about. So now it has been documented that Vanguard
Yeah.
and BlackRock, which own everything, they own everything in the world. It all trace back to BlackRock and Vanguard, which is part of Bill Gates' empire.
Yeah.
He's now trying to buy up farms in this country and in Europe. The man's not satisfied with destroying USA. He wants to come over here and do it. So that is why we absolutely 100% have to stand up to our farmers and forget about the fact that they've got all this land and they think they've got lots of money. They haven't. They
Can I
live very
just
frugally.
add to that as well? I had to go over to Yorkshire from Manchester. So I went up is it the M62? And I don't know if you've been
Yeah.
down that way, but there's
Mm.
that farm in the middle. So there's a,
Yes.
yeah, and I was looking at it and I've not had time to look. If anyone knows the history of that farm, it's something I probably should know. Tell me, comment below, tell us, put links out. But he stood his ground when that motorway was being built. I don't
Yeah.
know the full story around it, but he is still there. And I was going past, I was thinking, do you know what? I am with you. I am standing with
Yeah.
these farmers. I am there. And I am saying, let's be like the guy on the M62 and say, no, you're telling me that this is the way we've got to develop things. I'm not
Yeah.
having it. Let's stand our ground. And that is really inspiring for me. So I want to find out more about that story. Because
Yeah.
for those of you that haven't been down the M62, when they came to build the M62 up on the moors, it was over some farmland. This is progress apparently, and there was one farmer that refused to sell his land, and the sort of both lanes of the motorway now go around his farm, his farm buildings. I think
Yeah,
there's like
yeah,
a bit
yeah.
of a field
He
there
never
if you
gave
remember.
in. And this is what we need to do. And so
Yeah.
many people are bought out by an easier life because they make it so difficult. They would have made it very difficult for that man.
Oh
And,
gosh, yeah.
the bullying that goes on
Yeah.
and actually the violence, people don't realize what these people are capable of, and he stood his ground. And that
Yeah,
That
that's
farmer, you just got to admire him. And oddly enough, I watched a movie last night, which was a true story. It
yeah.
was with Diane Keaton. That's why I was up so late, and I'm a bit tired, but I was enthralled. Again, no such thing as a coincidence. This film was about a guy who had built his own. It was like a shack in the middle of a woods in the middle of London, and they wanted to build these luxury apartments on the heath, and he refused to move. And it was just a shack, but he was happy. He fished in the pond for his food, and everyone called him a tramp. But he just decided he wanted to live on his own terms. And it's a great movie. Can't remember the name of it now, but this is what we have to do. We have to stand our ground, and you know, people always take the easier route, don't they?
Yeah.
And in the end, it is not the easier route because everybody loses out. And we don't need more houses. We don't. We don't need more motorways. That's not advancement. We need fresh food.
Yes.
And but people, what's happening, and the exciting thing, Paula, is what we're seeing now is people are starting to recognise. Oh yeah, we can't lose all our farms. One or two went under. Nobody really noticed it, but now people are starting to wake up, thinking, "Crikey, if we don't get fresh food."
Yeah.
People are noticing that more and more people have cancers, tumours, and they're getting sick. They are noticing how exhausted they feel. And so people are starting to stand up, and that is what we need to do. And as for the protests, went really, really well. But do you know what? Did you see it in any of the news? Did we see it? Nothing. Nothing. Not on only social media, which was people like us who were pushing it and shoving out, and people taking photographs that we could circulate. That's the only way. And that is the beauty of digital now, isn't it? That not only do they try to control us, we can fight back.
Yeah.
And that's the only way we're going to do it. But it was a big success. They reported, a couple of hundred. There were thousands.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thousands went down to London, and they were noticed.
Yes.
And we've got to really keep pushing. And I just want to mention again what we have to do. So I have found 2 farms locally
Yeah.
that do not vaccinate their animals. They do not adhere to all these different fertilizers. They literally locate cleaner products. Their meats, their vegetables, their grains are all organic. Now, we've all got to do that personally, every single one of
Yes.
us watching this. And, please put any details of any farms down here. I
Yes.
know 2 locally to me, but let's find them. Let's find the places to do the veggie boxes that are organic.
Because you know what,
Let's
as well. I mean, you're in quite like a you're in the countryside,
Yeah,
in essence, aren't you? Whereas
yeah, yeah,
I'm not. I'm just
yeah,
outside Salford
yeah,
in
yeah, yeah,
Manchester. But however, there are still farms here.
yeah, yeah.
There are still farms in your, so even if you are in more of a sort of city area, there will be places that have the local produce. My kids, in the holidays, they sometimes go to like holiday clubs on farms that are
Oh, I love
and
that.
yeah, they do, they love it. They call it farm school. They absolutely love it. But they go to holiday clubs that are actually on farms, and we don't live too far from a city. So wherever you live, there will be somewhere. You
Yeah,
just need to do a bit of digging and
yeah.
ask around people. Because there will be someone or something, or a fact, there will be farms local to you. You just might not know that they're there, and share them. Share them
Yeah,
because we want to share
that's
it
so
everywhere.
important. And that's all you have to do is like, most farms are opening up farm shops, and you can order directly from them. And imagine if you just told 5 people this is going to get around, and a lot of people are saying, but it's so expensive, I can't afford. I have to buy my meats from Tesco's because they're cheaper. And why are they cheaper? Because they buy in mass bulk. And and don't pay the farmers hardly anything. So the more you buy from farm shops, the more people do that, the less the price will come so they can survive. It's not about them being greedy, it's about survival for everybody. And even if you reduce the amount of meat you eat, and have more vegetarian, but have meat as a luxury, but
So
you
it's
you
affordable.
only buy it from farm shops, that is going to help them.
Yes.
And I think that's what
And it's
we've
going to
all
bring
got
the
to do.
it'll bring the price down eventually. It's only risen so high because we're sourcing meat from elsewhere. Don't know if you've ever had like the chicken from a supermarket that's much cheaper. The amount of water they inject it with water to expand it and all sorts of other things, I'm very sure. But the amount of water that comes out of that piece of meat is
Yeah, and it shrinks,
absolutely,
isn't it?
yeah, it
Chicken, you
shrinks.
notice that mostly with. And if your chicken is like that, that is not good. So
Yeah,
sometimes you taste a bit of a chemical taste with
yeah.
chicken. Do not eat that chicken, because
No,
I know for a fact there are chicken farms that inject their chickens
yeah,
hormones so they do get big and fat.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
And
mean,
it's
that is
just so
unbelievable.
you just wouldn't, if you didn't know this, you just
Mm.
wouldn't think it. But that's the reality. That's what's happening. Now, if
Yeah.
we can turn to the Arla stuff, so I always forget the name of it, but it's called, what's the lost it now.
The chemical.
There's a trial and there's Bovea. I don't know if I've said that right or wrong. Please tell me below
I
if I
think
have
that's
or
right.
not. Bovea.
Anyway, I think people are knowing about it because it's all over social media.
Well, I've been
Um,
doing a bit of research and it's actually been available to use in the UK since April. I didn't know this. Did anyone else know this? No, because they're not going to put it as like open public knowledge. Of course, it's public knowledge. It's available to you on the public sort of if you look for it.
forum,
But they're not going to purposely say, "Oh yeah, we're going to start putting this experimental additive within. We're going to start feeding it our cows and see if we can reduce the methane." Now, I spoke to my teenage daughter, and I said, "Do you know that this is happening? This is what they're doing. They're feeding the cows this now in some places. We're not going to use these type of products anymore. I don't think we do use that many anyway from them." But and she said, "Well, why are we doing that?" I said, "Because methane, they say, is causing huge problems um, with greenhouse gases." And she's like, "What? Cows are causing global warming, Mum? Really?" And I'm kind of there. I'm there. Really? Really? So that's the problem with our earth. It's the cows farting too much. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It just
do
doesn't
you
ring
know,
true.
it's unbelievable that there are people well, they hold very highfalutin jobs who actually believe this, and they're pushing this agenda. When you hear about COP, was it COP 26 or whatever it is?
Yes. Yeah.
They go on their private planes to discuss this. It's just insane. It is insane. They're actually going, oh yeah, can't reduce the cows. So what kind of a planet are we going to have where we don't have animals and we're eating insects? Because that's basically where we're going. And Arla is all over social
Yes.
media now, and we have got an expert coming on next week,
Yes.
Karen, and she's done so much research, and she will be telling us exactly which supermarkets are buying into this. And I'll tell you, it's nearly all of them. Nearly all of them. Tesco's and Morrison's are the biggest culprits. Then we've got Aldi.
Gone to it. Yeah.
I just heard this morning that Lidl, a lot of Lidls are not doing it. So,
Good.
this is something to think about. And
Now,
we do have to pay attention.
yeah, just to tell you a little bit about what I understand, I did a bit of research this morning because it only came out on the 26th of November
Yeah,
that
yeah.
this was happening. within supermarkets, that supermarkets were joining forces and doing this and making this happen. Now, it does say in some of the details that I've read, although it's been claimed the additive has no side effects on cows, a report by the Food Standards Agency last year found that whatever this chemical is, 3-NOP, it says, should be considered corrosive to the eyes, a skin irritant, and potentially harmful by inhalation. Okay, so if we're feeding that to our cows and it's going through their bodily system, and then we are using products that are made from that body system, what's it going to do? We don't know. And this is the point. This is the absolute point. We're not guinea pigs and we shouldn't be. And I find it so wrong.
No, I mean, we've been guinea pigs for long enough
Yes.
with what they're doing. And why are the governments agreeing to it? Why?
Lots
Do you
of
know?
questions, not enough answers.
Yeah. But let's talk about that more next week
Yes,
with the experts, because we'll know more by next week.
Yes.
Like you said, it's only come out on Tuesday.
Yeah.
But we just want to make people aware, and you know, if they're not already, we're on point with all these topical things that are going on and the changes, but they're happening so fast, the different things. It's hard to keep up, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
So what I'd love to talk about now are solutions. And Paula and I this week went to an amazing state-of-the-art clinic. Well, let's call it a clinic. It kind of is, isn't it? In Burnley, which is East Lancashire, for those who don't know. And we believe, well, Einstein's always said it, the frequency will be the future, frequency healing. So these beds that it has, you sit on them basically, and they attach this little thing on you, and it just vibrates. But it's just insane, the frequency that will activate every cell in your body. Now, this isn't just a trial. This has been proven to cure people for cancers, brain tumors, Parkinson's, MS, fibromyalgia. It's insane. Paula, tell us about your experience. Obviously, we didn't go at the same time, but we went on the same day, didn't we?
Yeah, so this is PEMF technology, and it's frequency technology, and there's different ways that you can tap into that frequency. And they have beds, they have chairs, just like, you know, sort of comfy chairs that you can sit in. They've got like paddles that they can put on different areas of your body, wherever you might have that discomfort and you need something. And it's just it's frequency technology. For anyone that doesn't know, every single thing in the universe has a frequency vibration. And when we have that kind of when we're out of sync with that vibration, it's been kind of proven that it can result in disease, illness, problems with your body in whatever way. And what this does, it basically rebalances that frequency within your body, within the cells of your body. And honestly, the stories that I was told of people that have had successes with all sorts of ailments and illnesses, people that had been told that they had a limited time left in this world. When I was there was actually a client that visited who was very she's an elderly lady, and she was ready to just let go. She was ready to go. She'd been diagnosed with a terminal condition, and she was ready to let go. And she went for some sessions at this place, and she is now so sprightly. She's up and about. She's making food. I think it might have been Alzheimer's and things that she had as well. She wasn't able to, when she was very poorly, she wasn't able to really do anything for herself. and she turned up whilst I was in a meeting with one of the guys, and she'd made soup for him. She'd come and made a soup and brought it round for him. And that was that a few months before, that was unheard of because she was so unwell.
It's
This
life
technology
changing.
works. It works
Yeah.
at every level. It's incredible.
I can see the future that we will have these beds everywhere.
Yes.
And this is what people will be going for. You know, I believe that next year, 2025,
Yeah.
the tower is going to fall down on the big pharma, because we now know that they're only about money. And I'm not suggesting that, some pharmacy helps people, but 80% causes other disease. So imagine if you've got something like this that is natural, no side effects, none,
Yeah.
none. It's incredible. And there are so many things like this that have been around for quite a while. But the big pharma, who have, oh, by the way, are owned by BlackRock, Vanguard, and the Rothschild family,
Nice.
they don't want people to get well because sick people make money. And that's very, very big statement to make, but it's the truth, isn't it? And we've got to wake up now and start seeing our solutions. And that's what we're about. We need to know the facts, but now we need to know the solutions. But also, while we were there, actually, while I was there, a lovely guy called Craig Driver, he had cancer 4 5 years ago. And obviously devastation. It wasn't looking good for him, and he was going down the normal routes. But then he's a natural researcher. He started researching organic, natural ways to help cure him. And he came across hydrogen water, like filtered water, but and he literally cured himself. I mean, you should see him now. He's so vibrant, isn't he? You know him, don't you,
Yes.
Paula? And he now sells these filtered water that you can have fitted it plumbed in, so it comes out of your tap. And they're not that expensive. So this hydrogen water oxygenates every cell in your body. All the toxins you have inside you. It then starts multiplying. Once you get a couple of cells that hydronize or oxygenize, they start moving and shaking and shuffling right through your body. And they've started working together, haven't they, Paula? So you've got the med beds, they call them med beds, frequency beds, and you got the water coupled with the water,
Yeah.
and it just excels
Yeah.
all the healing. Alongside doing that with detoxing,
Yeah.
doing stuff for yourself as well. It's incredible. These are cures out there for cancer, for all these dreadful, horrible diseases, Alzheimer's. There are cures, and that's a big statement to make, but there are, and
Yes.
people need to know it. We can't keep quiet anymore.
Yeah.
We have to be shouting out. Those people are suffering, and it
And it's
breaks my heart, really.
unnecessary. It's not, it doesn't have to happen that way.
No, no, it doesn't. And the more, we're going to get these people on our podcast, aren't we, Paula? And anybody that's suffering. It could be a family member. I mean, we all know somebody, but I know a few people, but they're not willing to listen at this moment. So if you're watching this and you have even a small amount of belief in this, proven methods, then we've got to get it to the people who really need it before it's too late, really. Because it's people who's we're seeing people now who are coming in straight from 0 to 4, stage 4 being terminal, that they're not even having that stage 1, stage 2. They're not having that. It's coming straight in stage 4 because of the toxins they're pumping inside us.
Yeah.
I feel very passionate about it. Can you tell?
No, I know, I can tell, and me too. I mean, I think when the conversations that I'm having as well, even with people that are a little, shall we say, cynical about some of the
Yeah.
things that we talk about on this podcast, some of the things that we openly discuss, what they have is a little niggle that something isn't quite right. And so we talk about having that belief. You don't have to believe what we're saying at all. You can watch this and say, oh my God, they're talking a load of tripe. I don't know what they're going on about. But I know that this will stay in your mind. And I know that there will be a little niggle of, do you know what? Actually, I know someone that was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. And they've got no hope now. So is there a hope? Is there? And that little niggle will grow. And you'll come back to this podcast and you'll do your research and you'll realize, hell yes, there's a hell of a lot out there that we can tap into. And we're raising that awareness. And that's the most important thing when you watch it. So we don't care what you say about us. We don't care if you're negative, if you don't like us, and if you're wondering what the hell we're talking about, that's okay. But go with the niggle and do
do your own research, because I think that's what we want more than anything. Don't necessarily listen to us. Maybe a little seed goes in and go, all right, I'm going to prove them wrong. And then you'll do the research and wow, it is so powerful. But also I'm very, very aware that all these things cost, these machines, these med beds cost over £50,000 each. So you're not going to you get it for a £5 prescription, or however much a prescription is these days. It does cost. So some people just don't have that money, and what can we do for them? So there is a way. There is a way.
And we're working on ways. And when people look at that and they consider, I mean, you're not going to purchase a 50 grand bed, but you might go for sessions and they might be out of the price range. Try not to worry too much at this moment in time, because these are all things that we as a collective, not just us either, but we try and make this as affordable as possible. So we work on ways to make that happen. There's lots of things that go on in the background that you don't know about, but we all try to make it as affordable as possible, because we know that this is technology that should be freely available. But obviously there's finances involved. So it's just those little things we've got to work out, but we are doing that. So just be aware.
And I would love to see in the future, obviously in the UK, we've got an NHS system, which, when it first came out, obviously, it was just so insanely wonderful that it was all for the right reasons. But sadly, it has changed, and it is a business. End of. And so, we now need to, like in other countries where they don't have an NHS system, we have the best system in the world, apparently. I don't believe that. I think we've got one of the worst systems in the world now. The reason why I'm saying that is because we don't have choice. Whereas if you're paying insurance, the different systems around the world, like in America, for example, you pay an insurance, which isn't a great system either, but you have choice then. You have choice to use your insurance for whatever you like. And we don't have that here. So, for those privileged people who have money, they can try these things. The great thing is, it's not ideal, but you can try it alongside conventional. I prefer not to, keep your body clean. So the solution for the people right now, today even, that you can do is Roots have set up their own detox program. So it's on Facebook. It's a 7-day super detox program, and it's to kickstart your healthy eating, and it's delicious as well. And that's to try and get the toxins out of your body. So that's something you can do. You'll save money on food, but you'll be having soups and smoothies. And B, you'll save time because it's very easy to make soups and smoothies. So you can do all the other things, with that time, more exercise. You hear it all the time, don't you, Paula? Like, I haven't got time to go for a walk. I've got A, B, C, D here. Well, do you know what? At the end of your days, you'll wish you'd made the time to
Yeah.
clean your system out, to give yourself half an hour walks, to just clear your mind, because everyone's on a treadmill just doing what that TV tells them.
And what contributes to stress? It's like that constant, you're always
Yeah.
on the go. So you're feeling stressed and you're like, why am I feeling so stressed? Because you're not taking any time. You got to go and do a walk as well, because you're not going to, it stops your productivity. It just throws so many spanners in the works. You've got to take care of you as well. Everything
Yeah.
can wait.
Yeah. Making yourself a priority.
Yeah.
And I think mothers and fathers are the same here, but mothers particularly juggle so much and they never put themselves first. But in the end, your family, your kids, your husband, or whoever partner wants you well. If you're not well, then that really has a catastrophic effect. But anyway, I think we've lectured enough now, haven't we, Paula? But we've
Yeah.
touched on a few topics there, which we want to come back next week, with the experts about Arla. They can really. I hope you'll come back next week and listen to us, because we're coming up with solutions, and that's what we're here for. There's so much going on in the background, and we're really excited about Root Connections, our brand new strategy going forward, and we're going to be telling you more about that in the coming weeks. What you can do to make your life better in 2025. But join us on Facebook on the Detox to start off with. Lots of good information, and there's so much going on.
Yes, and I'll be the details will be in the write up for this podcast, for this
Yeah.
YouTube video. So just have a look below and you'll see all the information.
Thank you, folks. I really appreciate your time. And we love doing them. We, hope that it helps, gives a bit of information. For some of you, well, I knew that. Well, that's okay. Pass this on to someone who might not.
Yes.
It's a gentle approach. Instead of producing fear, we're stating the facts and we're giving solutions.
Yes.
And that's what we all need to do now.
Definitely. Definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jackie. It's been amazing.
Yeah. Thanks, Paula. Thank you for all our listeners. And we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.